Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Bennett, and I'm the social media manager here at JDRF and have lived with T1D for over 20 years. We started this video series to talk to other people with T1D, caregivers, really any and everyone who's a part of the community, to kind of talk about things that we maybe don't talk about a whole lot. So kind of by T1Ds for T1Ds. And today I am joined by not one, but two very special guests who you may recognize from our social media channels or their own TikTok for going viral so many times. I'm joined today by Samara and Addie. How are you two today?
We're good, thank you.
Good. So we'll just dive right into it. So Samara, how old was Addie when she was diagnosed with T1D? And did you have any sort of knowledge or experience with it, like when she was diagnosed?
She was a couple months over a year old. So she was 14 months old. And I had zero experience with T1D. No one I knew, no one, in my family had it. Her dad, fortunately, knew someone that had T1D in his previous relationships, but I had no idea about type 1 diabetes or anything like that when she was diagnosed.
Yeah, I know my own mom was like, it's just so much information to take in at once. And it's information about how to keep your child alive. So it's very overwhelming, obviously for the person being diagnosed, but also for the parents or other caregivers. So you have two other children besides Addie, right?
Yes, two older children.
Neither of them has T1D, right?
No.
Yeah. So do you notice anything different, like in your parenting style when it comes to Addie versus your two other kids, or do you kind of try to keep things even, or?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I use a different parenting style. But with Addie, because she's been through medical trauma, being in the hospital when she had DKA, she's got a little bit of separation anxiety. Mm-hmm. So, right now we're in the transition of weaning her from nursing and in her own bed. So those are things I've kind of done just longer with her than I did with my other kids. And I think with her, probably the main thing I really try and do is really focus on her behaviors as a toddler. And I have to decipher, is this a toddler behavior, or is this a behavior because she's high, or a behavior because she's low? And so that's kind of, I guess I'm more patient maybe. Mm-hmm. And I just take more time trying to understand her behaviors and where they're coming from, and if they're type 1, if they're diabetes related.
Yeah. It's well, I'm way past the toddler stage, but still when my blood sugar's high, at times act like a toddler. So she's fine. So speaking kind of in that same topic area, obviously being a mom, being a parent in general, when T1D is not a factor, is like hard enough. You're balancing a billion different things, doing a billion different things. So how do you kind of make sure you're taking time to kind of prioritize your mental health, make sure you're in a good place, feeling good, all that good stuff, while also trying to manage 3 children, one of whom has T1D?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I want to say for the first year and a half of her diagnosis, I didn't do any kind of really self-care, or I was so focused on her and keeping her alive. But now I think I found a better balance, because I've realized that I'm a better mom when I take time and I, rest or get a good night's sleep. It was also different in the beginning because she was on NDI and she didn't have the pump. Life definitely got on an insulin pump, and I was able to maybe relax a little bit more, sleep more, and take more time for myself. After she was on the pump, I felt more comfortable leaving her with a babysitter, mm-hmm. Like a relative that knew how to look for the signs and how to use her PDM and things like that. So it took some time, but I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. It's I would imagine, like I said, with 3 kids already, it's a ton, right? But to add kind of a medically complex kiddo on top of that, I would venture a guess it can be tough to prioritize yourself sometimes. So I'm glad to hear that, you know, once you kind of get in a groove, it gets a little bit easier. So
it does.
You guys have gone viral on TikTok a bunch. We've reshared some of your videos that have gone viral on our channel. So, you know, and they're all about T1D management and the changing of pump sites and CGM sensors. So what kind of made you decide to start filming what that process looks like?
Well, it's kind of funny because it was kind of an accident. One time I started filming her Dexcom site change for to show family, you know, what this new device is she has on and how well she was doing. So I initially just was gonna film it and post it on Facebook and for my family and friends, just give them like an update, like this is what our lives look like now. But I posted it to TikTok as well, and it kind of blew up after that because people were asking questions and they wanted to know, you know, what was wrong with her, what happened, and they didn't understand. And that's just kind of how it started. People were asking questions, and then I made videos responding to questions, and I just kind of started posting more content because people were like, oh, you know, my kid as well was just diagnosed, and I've never seen anybody that little. I've never seen anyone that was 1 year old with type 1. And so it was definitely something that people were curious about. And so that's kind of how it started, by accident.
Yeah.
And then I just kept it on going.
Yeah, no, and I think it's so great. Obviously, the awareness piece of it, because, you know, anyone who lives with T1D or is related to someone or knows someone that knows that in the media and just generally, I think there are a ton of misconceptions about what it is, whether it goes away or not. And so I think it's outside of the awareness, though, I want to applaud you too, because I'm dating myself here, but grew up in an age before social media was really much of a thing, and lived far away from my closest JDRF chapter and didn't know anybody else outside of a camp I went to in the summer for 5 days that had T1D. And, you know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we talk all about the physical stuff and low blood sugar and high blood sugar and all that. But I think we don't talk a lot about what a mental burden it is. And even outside of the obvious, I think, at least for me, it was so isolating because I didn't have anyone around who I could, you know, complain about that got it, right? Like that really understood what it was like. So I think that's, you know, you talked about the parents who said my kid was also just diagnosed. So I think it's another great way too to kind of just help each other and have a support system, which I think is so critical to mental health, especially, you know, obviously people living with T1D, but I think also caregivers like you who, especially caregivers who are parents and who are thinking, this is my kid. Like I'd do anything in the world for my kid.
Yeah.
My parents talk about it all the time. My dad's favorite line is, if I could take it away from you and give it to myself, I would. But so, you know, we talked about how you look out for your mental health. And then as Addie kind of gets older, you know, she's little now, but as she gets older, how do you kind of think about making sure that she also prioritizes that aspect of like diabetes management along with obviously taking care of the physical side of things?
All type 1 diabetes, and I'm always trying to like pick their brain and you know, like how was it going for you, you know, how, you know, and kind of getting advice from people that went through that T1D childhood already and they're adults. And so with Addie, I think just really just staying connected within the community and, you know, people her age, and just just I think community is just so important. You know what I mean? To know that you're not alone and that other people also have to use insulin and things like that. And so just staying, I think, connected and, she has friends, and I've been told about the camps, and so I want to get her going to a diabetes camp when she's old enough. So I think that having those experiences are definitely going to be really beneficial to helping her like accept her type 1 diabetes and like manage it and keep managing it well as she gets older.
For sure. Let's see what is next here. So my next question is actually for Addie, but if she's busy, it's okay. I feel like you can answer this one. Now, we know low blood sugars happen, and you typically are just going to grab whatever you have to treat them. But does Addie have a favorite snack when she gets low that she asks for that maybe she doesn't get to have as much when she's not low? Or is there a particular favorite treatment she has for a low?
Probably fruit snacks.
Yeah,
she likes to eat fruit snacks, and sometimes they're not as fast acting as juice. So if I notice that she's falling, I know she's got insulin on board still, I'll give her some fruit snacks, and she enjoys those a lot.
Yeah, fruit snacks are a go-to for me too.
Yeah, or like candy, like Smarties and things like that. She doesn't really get candy that often, and so when she does, she's like happy that she's getting that, even though her blood sugar is low.
Yeah, I try to think of it as like a silver lining to a low.
Yeah.
Like, well, I get to have something maybe I don't indulge in all that often when I'm not. So yeah, no, fruit snacks and candy, that's my kind of girl. And then our last question is, and this is the question we ask everybody we have on, if you could either, and it sounds like you do talk to a lot of parents whose child was recently diagnosed, but even if you could go back and give yourself or another parent who's going through their child being diagnosed with T1D, what piece of advice would you give if you had to pick just one solid piece of advice?
Probably, first of all, take a deep breath and, don't stress, and just take it, one day at a time, because, early on in her diagnosis, the stress was just so much. And I just felt overwhelmed constantly. And I think when that level of stress, you get that stressed out for days, weeks, months, it really takes a toll on you. And, that's the only thing I would suggest people, if you were just recently diagnosed, is that, your life's going to be different, but, it's not going to be horrible. It's not going to be, you know what I mean? It's you're still going to live a great life. You can still, have pizza, ice cream, whatever you want to eat. It's just you have to make these adjustments and kind of just change your lifestyle a little bit, but just stressing over it is probably one of the things I was like, it's scary, I think, because for us, she was in the hospital, and then we had a team of doctors, and, they stressed the importance of like not letting her blood sugar get too low and too high. And so just all that information, it's like information overload. So it's really easy to get overwhelmed and be stressed. But I would say just take a deep breath, and if you have time, just like try not to stress about, this new diagnosis.
Yeah, no, it's it's one of those things that's easier said than done. But I will echo that from a patient perspective too, and just say, do your best every day. Do your best every day, and try to just take it one day at a time. And there will be plenty of opportunities to stress. So don't go looking for them. Just kind of roll with the punches as much as you can. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. And if you're watching and have someone you'd like us to interview or talk to, you can leave us a comment, and you can find Samara and Addie at the T1D Mama on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Got that right? All right, awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you, Addie. And thank you, Samara, for joining us. And we will talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.